Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Boink Studios, and check us out on boinkstudios.com, where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 85 of the podcast, and if you're joining us today for the very first time, we will bid you welcome. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for checking back in with us. And to all those involved, we will extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and hearty handshake. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Thanks for supporting. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. It could be after this episode, we're also saying, thanks for watching. For the first time ever, Tom Clark's Main Event was recorded while filming Facebook Live. I had like 20-some views. Maybe it will get more. I don't have any idea. Not a lot of people like me. So I'm going to hope that my wealth of knowledge about the pro wrestling business, keeps people coming back and takes away from the fact that I'm not really liked all that much. Those are jokes. Everyone loves me. They really don't, but it's cool. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the show. Glad you are with us. As I said, man, we recorded this sucker on Facebook Live. The video is available right now, and I did not do this intro on camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this intro, and we're going to piece it together with the audio of the show that we just recorded, episode 85. That's what you've got in front of you right now. And this time, the main event, let's just get right down to it, shall we? This time, the main event is Raw 25, the Royal Rumble, and the XFL. Man, that's a long freaking title, but it is what it is. So we're not going to waste a whole lot of time. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, if you got some feedback, if you got some things you'd like to throw out there, if you watch the video on Facebook Live and have questions, comments, words of wisdom, you know how to hit us. Drop us a line on Twitter or hit us up, boinkstudios@yahoo.com. So let's go ahead and get to the show, and let's get to the main body of the episode this week, shall we? So the first episode or edition, or what's a good word? The first attempt of Tom Clark's Main Event on Facebook Live. This is a first. There was a couple of test runs, had the iPad turned the wrong way. Turns out the iPad wasn't getting the job done, so now we're on the phone. Like I said, this is something different. Don't know if we're going to do this again. But hey, man, it's 2018. It's technology at its finest. It's a way to take the show and maybe do something a little new with it. If you're just listening to this on the app or on your phone, you can't see what I'm getting ready to tell you, but my collection of pop vinyls are behind me right now. There's a lot of pro wrestling pop vinyls on there. I'm pretty happy with those. Those are awesome. So, thank you for that. But they're awesome. But not every shelf is pro wrestling, guys. You would think that with this being a pro wrestling podcast, that they would all be pro wrestling WWE guys, but they're not. There's comic book guys, there's science fiction dudes back there. I'm trying to remember the last one I bought. Atom Ant. Remember that old Hanna-Barbera cartoon? I do, because I'm old. And if you can't tell, check the gray of the beard, baby. It's terrible. I didn't even get a haircut for this. I didn't shave. I didn't get a haircut. Hey, Jess, thanks. She likes the pop vinyls. Hey, man. They're awesome. You know how like you buy them in a box, right? You take them out of the box, you just put them on the shelf, and they just sit there? Oh, my God. It's good stuff. Yeah, I don't really do anything with them. I look at them. Remember that old line from Family Guy when Stu was in the bubble and he asked Brian to roll him upstairs so he could look at his toys? He can't play with them. He just wants to look at them. That's the stage I'm at in my life right now, folks. I don't get to play with the toys anymore. I just like to look at them. That's what I do. let's get back to why we're here, shall we? Don't know how many folks are going to end up watching this, if anyone. If you got any comments or questions about anything that's happened this week in wrestling, give me a shout, man. We'll go through them here as we can. Hopefully this won't be too awkward if you're just listening and not watching. So if you're just listening, you have no idea what's going on, go to my Facebook page and you will see the Facebook live video. Again, technology, Jack. You can't beat it. Raw 25. I got to lead with that. Yes, let's start this because it was a train wreck. I didn't write a column bashing it, and if any of you out there did, Mazel tov, it's totally fine. It's cool, and I understand why you did because it was a train wreck, right? I don't know that the show could have lived up to what everyone wanted it to be. I don't know that it could have satisfied everyone's requests. I don't know if it could have satisfied everyone's expectations and lived up to what everyone hoped and thought that it could be. They had a lot to do in 3 hours. They always have a lot to do in 3 hours. There was like 3 matches or 4 or something in 3 hours. It's insane, even for them, even for Raw. But it's almost like they're like, hey, man, we got all these legends. Let's just shove them on up in 3 hours' time. So they did. Hui. Again, it was a mess. I'm just saying, it was a mess. So I don't know if I'm going to be rewatching anytime soon. The best segment of the entire night is Stone Cold Steve Austin at the beginning when he stunned Vince and Shane also. Best spot of the night, I wrote a column about on Bleacher Report the next day why Steve Austin should come back and be a GM in WWE. You know, I write that and I believe it and I'm sticking to it. At the same time, you look at the state that WWE is in and you kind of think, does he really need to come back? They could sure use him, right? But I don't know if he necessarily needs them. He seems purely confident and purely happy to just sit on the sidelines in his ranch in Texas or California, whichever place he's living now, and just do what he does. Drink beer and podcast, I suppose. I podcast too, but I don't drink beer. So there you go. Which means I'm maybe not as cool as he is. I don't know. But to me, the intro of Raw 25 was the best part of the entire show. I thought the segment with DX and Balor Club was very forced. I predicted it was going to happen. We all knew it was going to happen. I predicted it with Kevin Nash. However, Nash was unable to attend Raw 25. You know, it is what it is. What are you going to do? But I thought it was forced. I didn't really see the point in it. It was a little hard to watch. I like Finn. I like those guys. I like Balor Club. I think that it's WWE's attempt to get some Bullet Club action happening, which I completely understand. They keep referencing Bullet Club on TV. They keep referencing New Japan on TV without flat out saying it, which they've been doing for several weeks now, maybe longer. It is what it is. But honestly, again, it was forced. I wasn't extremely happy with the way it all went. A lot of people have been very vocal about it. I wasn't very vocal about it. I didn't lose a lot of sleep over it. Mean Gene Okerlund, much respect to Gene. He looked old. Vince McMahon looked old. We're all getting old, baby. What can I say? But here's the reason why I didn't go off in a column online, on Twitter, on Facebook, or anywhere else for that matter. I got to be honest with you. If you follow WWE for any extended period of time, and trust me, man, I write about this company all the time, right? And follow it. And any of you guys out there have been wrestling fans for longer than 10 minutes, you can watch pro wrestling matches and, you know, you can kind of decide that you know what's going to happen before it happens, even if you've never been in the ring before. You can sort of see it all playing out in front of you. But if any one of you have ever followed WWE for an extended period of time, you know to not get your hopes up. That's not to say that they don't deliver. That's not to say that the crew, the talent do not work hard to put on a good show. They absolutely do. Just the production team. If you praise no one else but the production team of WWE, they deserve respect. They deserve an attaboy because, man, they're the best in the world. Imagine that crew working with a smaller company like Impact or even maybe New Japan. New Japan's companies, I mean, they do a fairly good job, but it's WWE's production company is like a movie production company. I mean, they're so good at what they do. And, you know, back in the day, a wrestler would have to cut a promo to talk you into the building. WWE's video packages do that now. They make you want to see what's coming up next. They make you want to buy a ticket to go watch the show live. I mean, they do everything that guys like Dusty and Magnum and, the Horsemen used to do back in the day. It's the truth. So you can't fault them for that. Again, there's a lot of hardworking people in that company. But if you followed it like I followed it, if you absorb the product, you analyze the product the way I do all the time, and you don't have to be a writer to do this. Like I said, you can just sit back and follow it for a long time. I mean, if you do all that stuff, then you train yourself to not get too upset. This company's done everything in their power to destroy kayfabe. They've done it. Kayfabe is deader than The Undertaker. It's the truth, man. They killed it. They took kayfabe out back of the arena and shot it in the head. I hate to say that, but it's the truth, man. They don't care. They could care less about that. And if I'm so wrong, then why do you see two guys work each other on Monday Night Raw, and then 10 minutes later they're on Twitter with their arms around each other saying, "Hey, bro, good match. Much respect, much love." Really? You couldn't have waited a month, right? You couldn't have waited a day. Nah, you just have to go and, blow it for everyone. So considering that WWE's done everything in their power to, put an end to kayfabe as we know it, as it's ever existed, the modern day pro wrestling product in that company is not what you grew up watching. Sorry to be the one to break it to you. Even if you grew up watching Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy, it's still not the same company. It's still not the same thing. It's like that, but magnified with the worst possible aspects under the microscope. Now, having said all of that, some of the best talent in the world perform in WWE, and they continue to sign guys left and right. NXT has become the breeding ground to bring up independent talent onto the main event roster, both Raw and SmackDown. They do an amazing job. And if there was a territory system still in play now, WWE would have already sucked it up because they're doing that right now to the indies. The indies are a great place to learn your craft. And, you might work for gas money. You guys out there who we ran with in UWA know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You might get gas money, you might not. You might get a handshake from the promoter. It's not that he doesn't appreciate your effort, but if there's no money to be made, there's no money to be made. But you're not in there for that. You're in there for the fun of it. You're in there to hopefully get better. You're in there to learn your craft and to one day maybe go to bigger places where there is some money coming in and maybe you can make a few bucks. But that's where you learn your trade. And then maybe, fingers crossed, one day the right guy sees you at the right time. You get invited to the Performance Center in Florida. Next thing you know, you're NXT bound, you're main roster bound. If everything goes your way, a very small percentage of guys make it. Don't be fooled by the roster that lives in NXT. Don't be fooled by the number of guys that come up to the main roster of SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. It's a very small amount. Very small percentage of the indie circuit actually make it to the big leagues. And WWE is the big leagues. I was going to say bar none, but you can't forget New Japan. We talk about New Japan here on the show. If you've never listened to Tom Clark's Main Event, we're huge proponents of New Japan. That's not to say, however, that New Japan is perfect themselves. That's not to suggest that they've got it all figured out, because they don't. There's a lot of nonsense that exists in New Japan as well. A lot of comedy wrestling. Jim Cornette would love that term. He uses many more expletives than I do to describe it, but he's absolutely right. A lot of comedy wrestling, a lot of joke wrestling. I don't care for that stuff either, to be honest with you. I think comedy's good in very, very small doses, but that's really as far as it's going to go. So again, if you've been watching WWE, you know not to get too disappointed. This is the same company that brought you Donald Trump versus Rosie O'Donnell. Ugh. It brought you, Vince McMahon get blown up in his limo. It brought you Vince's Hornswoggle's dad. It's the rubber hand. Don't go there. It's a nightmare. So when something like this happens, when it's basically a glorified nostalgia show, and they've hyped it for the better part of 2 months or better, maybe. And it's all they can talk about, and they promote it worldwide, and they push it, and they give you the guest list. They tell you who all's going to be there and what to expect, who to expect, and there might be some surprises. Anything can happen in WWE, baby, right? And then when it doesn't deliver, when it fails to deliver, don't get too upset, man. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Stop watching? A lot of people have. The ratings are testament to that. But let's just be honest about it. You can get upset as much as you want to. Fact is, you're going to keep watching. If you're a pro wrestling fan, there's more pro wrestling out there than WWE, folks. You guys know that. Like I said, New Japan's out there. Impact, if you can sit through it, good luck to you. Ring of Honor's out there. There's other companies that exist. Lucha Underground I think Lucha Underground's still hanging around. I kind of gave up on it. It's no disrespect to the men and women in the ring, but it's a little too sci-fi for my taste, if that makes any sense. But again, much respect to those guys. They put their lives on the line every night, like anyone that gets into a pro wrestling ring does. So much respect to them. Can't fault them for wanting to trying to earn a living in the business that they love. I love the business too, and if you're a pro wrestling fan, you love it. You want WWE to do well. As much as WWE thumbs its nose at you and trolls its audience, which it absolutely does, WWE trolls its own audience like crazy. And they know they do it, and they love doing it, and they get a kick out of it, man. They can't get enough of it, to be honest with you. And it feels as though sometimes they're making fun of you. It feels as though sometimes they're having fun at your expense. Well, newsflash, they are having fun at your expense. It's what they do. So if you've accepted that, if you're learning to live with that, you can learn to live with the 25th anniversary edition of Raw that didn't go quite the way you wanted it to. So I got to tell you, man, I've not lost a lot of sleep over it. I wasn't impressed. Was it the worst show I've ever seen? No, because I watched a lot of Nitro in the later days of WCW. So no, it wasn't the worst show I've ever seen. Relax. Calm down out there. It's going to be okay. Does this mean the Royal Rumble is going to suck? No, I don't think it means the Royal Rumble is going to suck. Is there a good chance Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble again? Yes. Oh my God. If Reigns wins, we riot. Right? You're not really going to riot. Everyone says that crap. No one's really going to riot. It is what it is. Anything can happen at the Rumble. Let's lead into the Rumble just a little bit. It is coming up this weekend. Yours truly will be covering it. I've already covered it with a couple, 2 or 3 columns, and you know, we'll see what'll happen coming up on January 28th in Philadelphia. Let's don't talk too much about Philadelphia because the Eagles ran all over my Vikings. I think they just scored another touchdown, actually. They're still scoring. At will, actually. Congrats to the Eagles. I hate them so much. Where was I going? The Royal Rumble. That's right. January 28th. My latest for Bleacher has yet to post. It will post today. Today meaning January 26th. So if you're listening to this podcast after January 26th, just go to the Bleacher Report page, man, and check it out. Or you can go to Boink Studios, where we post all the links to all the columns that yours truly writes, and you can check it out there. Totally up to you. You know what I'm saying? But it's like betting odds, and yes, people actually bet on pro wrestling. Seems like a crazy thing to do, especially when it comes to WWE. Seeing as how a lot of their booking is just like pulled out of a nasty orifice. We don't curse here on the show, okay? We're PG, man. This is an attitude era. Calm down. No one's gonna be crotch chopping on the show, okay? But yeah, man, people are betting on this stuff. They have been for a long time, and the odds right now are in favor of Shinsuke Nakamura, King of Strong Style, winning the Royal Rumble. I say do it, because we all know it's going to be Shinsuke versus AJ Styles, WrestleMania 34. You know it's going to happen, man. It's bound to happen. That match it's been meant to happen since, oh my God, which Wrestle Kingdom 10, I think. And it's bound to happen. It's got to happen. Shinsuke versus AJ Styles. I mean, it's got to take place. It has to. It must take place. For Nakamura's sake, for AJ's sake. I mean, AJ is in a great position. 2-time WWE champion, regarded as the best talent in the world. Guys outside of that company call AJ the best talent in the world, and they should, because he probably is. Hard for me to say, because you guys know I'm a huge Kazuchika Okada fan. I think Okada's the best in the world. Just my opinion. But number 1, number 2, maybe. Can we say that? Number 1, number 2, AJ and Okada. Okada and AJ, perhaps. So AJ deserves to face Nakamura. Nakamura absolutely deserves to face AJ. He has done everything asked of him. He's gotten over. He gets shot down. He pulls himself back up. He gets over again. He gets pushed back down again. Like I said before, man, if you've been a fan of WWE, you know how this goes. You know how it goes. There's no point getting upset about it, Jack. Not at all. Because that's how this company rolls. They do the weirdest stuff at the weirdest times to the best people. And none of it makes any sense, and maybe it never will. I'm just saying. Not saying, just saying. So, again, take it in stride, man. Don't try to lose too much sleep over it. But Shinsuke is favored to win. The next guy favored to win from Raw, your boy, Roman Reigns. Hey, what's up? Nobody wants to see Roman Reigns win this match. Here's the thing. I'm not going to throw shade on Roman Reigns. Not going to happen. I don't have a dog in this race at all. It's not up to me whether or not Roman is the top guy. Whether WWE continues to put him over everybody on the planet. Roman pinned me, for God's sake. He's pinned everybody, right? I don't care. It's fine. And when I take jabs, it's subtle jabs. It's not meant to be personal. And if you think that Roman Reigns is not working hard in the ring, you are absolutely out of your godforsaken mind. He's working hard. It doesn't mean it's working. He's working, okay? He's doing the best he can with what he has. And you can't fault the guy for that. He's a phenomenal athlete. Got an amazing look. Can't talk for anything. It's the truth. Here's what I'll give to you about my take on John Cena. And John is no longer the top guy, and we all know this. He's not sliding out, but sliding to the side. Maybe sidestepping. He's moving on, okay? My take on John has always been this. Despite what challenges John Cena had in the beginning, in terms of he had 2 left feet in the ring, and he did. I think he still does. He's been in several Match of the Year candidates over the years. Kudos to him. But if you'll notice, those Match of the Year candidates always come against the best talents in the world. Like AJ Styles, okay? Just throwing it out there for you. But any challenges John had in the beginning in terms of having 2 left feet in the ring, in terms of not being able to talk that well, the guy gets a pass. He gets a pass for that stuff. He does. And he should. I mean, anything within the first... Let's be generous. Anything within the first 5 to 6 years, I guess you'll get a pass for that, and I completely understand it. When you hit 6 to 7 years, when you hit 10 years, dude, 5 years might be a bit of a stretch. Can we be straight about that? Maybe 5 years is a stretch. Honestly, you should have improved by now. You should be able to cut a promo. And people talk about, well, John holds them in the palm of his hands. No, he doesn't. John cuts some of the goofiest promos anyone on the planet has ever heard, okay? If these words came out of the mouth of an indie wrestler in your small town, wherever you live, if it was in Hickory or Charlotte or wherever you may be right now, anywhere in the world, actually, you'd laugh him out of the building, okay? But John's got $1 billion body with $1 billion bank account working for the $1 billion company, okay? So, maybe not $1 billion bank account. He's got some nice rides, though. You can't deny that. But you'd laugh him out of the building. But because he's John Cena, he gets a pass. And in my opinion, Roman is at the point where he should be able to talk. One of my favorite promos, you'll have to look this up. It's a Dusty and Magnum promo, and it happened on the show in the TBS studios. And I think it was it had to have been just after a match or after they mixed it up in the ring, probably with the Horsemen, probably with the Midnight Express or somebody. It had to have been. They're both out of breath. They're sweaty. Magnum talks. Dude, Magnum was never accused of having the best promo work either. My God, it's one of the best promos he ever cut. Maybe the best one he ever cut. He's out of breath, but he's intense. He is, he's magnetic. He had such a magnetic personality, and he drew you in. He wasn't just a chick magnet. He was a legit tough guy, okay? He was that guy that, he was hitting on the ladies in the bar, but the guys in the bar, if they were smart, they didn't try to retaliate because he talked to their lady, because Magnum would take your head off. You know what I'm saying? Legitimate tough guy. That's how he came across. Whether he was or not, that's how he came across. But this promo was intense, intensity personified. Dude, he was crushing it. And it really felt like it. It felt real because he was in the moment. He was emotional. He was intense. He was upset. He was mad. I'm sure it was like, go out there and hook them. Make it look good. You know what I'm saying? You only have to tell the guys in the old school NWA that one time, if any. and they know how to go out there and crush it. Because once upon a time, as we said before, you had to be able to talk people into the building to get them there. And this, I encourage you to go look this up. I would do it for you right now, but I'm extremely lazy. I'm not that lazy. I'm just not going to do it. Do some work, people. Do some homework. You didn't think that watching this or listening to this, if you're just listening, I got to get used to this, man. It's a really weird concept for me. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do this again. But you didn't think that listening or reading? Wow, you're reading this. There's no mistakes when you're live, right? That's what Vince says. You didn't think the homework was going to come with this episode, did you? Well, there it is. Go look it up because it's awesome. That's the Roman Reigns that we need. Segueing back to the topic at hand here. That's the Roman Reigns that fans want. It's that emotional, intense, over the top, I'm about to cut some fool in half promo that he doesn't cut. I don't know that he's ever cut it on a consistent basis. Roman comes across as the big, dumb guy, the big, dumb, tough guy who, he's a jock. He's got no brains. We know that's not who he is. You don't get to the top of WWE by being an idiot. I'm going to let that lay right there. You do with that what you want, okay? But no, it takes a degree of intelligence to get that far up in the business, especially the pinnacle of the business, the very top of the industry. A fool can't do that, okay? It's not going to happen. So you have to believe that Roman is aware of his limitations, but at some point, Roman should be able to take the bull by the horns and say, just let me go out there. Don't hand me anything. Don't talk to me. I'm just going to let it come out. Let him do that. What is the harm of him doing that? He cuts a bad promo. Dude, he's done that a lot. There's no more danger of that than there is saying that, he's going to go out and have sort of a rough match. He's had rough matches. A lot of the top guys have had rough matches. I mean, Ric Flair, the greatest of all time. Not every single match he ever worked was a masterpiece. I believe Flair is the GOAT, is greatest of all time. 100% believe that. I always will. I don't think anyone will ever top Flair in terms of consistency throughout his entire career and being at the top and carrying himself that way and his work in the ring and promo work and everything combined. But let's call a spade a spade. Not every single match he did was Hall of Fame worthy. It's impossible. No one is that good all the time. You're going to have an off night. Okay, Roman's included in that little equation, maybe more so than others. But again, there has to be some point where he gets out of that bubble and, rises above it. Now, I've been asked recently in conversation, well, how do you feel about The Miz going over on him on Raw 25? Hui. The minute it happened, I said, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why, as a company, do you take the top guy? He's the new top guy. Everyone knows that. No one beats The Undertaker at WrestleMania 34 if his name isn't Brock Lesnar and doesn't become the new top guy. You know that, true? Yes. But why do you take the guy that you have pushed for 3 straight years, 3 years now? First as the star on the rise, then as the heir apparent, and then as the solidified top guy. And you job him out. There's no easy way to say it. Now, on your biggest show maybe of all time. Now, if you ask Roman, does he feel like he's been jobbed out? I would say probably not. Miz is an excellent worker. I don't know if Miz is the conniving, ice cold heel that he wants to believe he is, or that WWE tries to portray him as. I don't see that. Miz, as smarmy as he is, and it's hard to use the word smarmy without talking about Seth Rollins, because Seth is absolutely that guy. He's absolutely smarmy. Do you know what I mean? Just looks at you sideways like, come on. But Miz is that guy, but to me, that's not a threat. That's entertaining. I can't get mad at him. I can't wish, harm on Miz. He's entertaining. He's funny. I can't say he's even captivating. I don't get that from him. Do you know what I mean? So for all of the good that he's done, and he's come a very long way in WWE, he's made his case for being one of the best hands in the company. 8-time Intercontinental Champion. Jericho's 9-time, right? I don't know if anybody's beat that. Is there a 10-time Intercontinental Champion? Throw that in your Google machine, kids. Look it up. Homework number 2. But I just don't. Okay, put it to you this way. I hated Tully Blanchard as a kid. I hated Tully Blanchard. My God. And smarmy. I talk about Seth Rollins. The word smarmy was created for Tully Blanchard. That was him, Jack. 100%, man. And I hated Tully. My God, I hated Tully Blanchard. Shawn Michaels called him the first cool heel that he ever saw. He wasn't cool to me. I hated the guy. You know what I mean? I didn't like his smart attitude. I didn't like his ego. I didn't like his swagger. I didn't like any of it. Now, as I got older and got smartened up to the business, I learned to respect it. But as a kid, watching Tully Blanchard, I just wanted him to get hit by a truck. For real. I couldn't stand him, man. I could not stand him. I'll never have that with The Miz. Do you see the difference? Put The Miz and Tully Blanchard side by side, and there are very subtle differences. Some not so subtle, but look at it as a whole, and Tully was smarmy and, an egomaniac and cocky, but in a very dirty way. Do you know what I mean? Like Tully looks like he just sleep with your girlfriend. That's what he looks like. You know what I mean? And that's just how the look that Tully had in his eyes, and you're like, oh my God, he's sleazy. That's maybe the best word. The whole Matt Ryan thing, and I hesitate to mention that idiot on my show, but they like to give him that. No, come on, that was Tully Blanchard. That's why dudes hated him. They put up the 4 fingers for the Horseman and all that stuff. But if you had to corner him and say, all right, who's your least favorite Horseman? Tully Blanchard, because he looks like he would, hit on my girl. You know what I'm saying? And to me, I don't see Miz like that. Miz doesn't strike me as being sleazy. He doesn't strike me as being dirty. He likes to tell you he's an actor, and brother, sometimes he seems like an actor. But you can't take away from the promo work that he's done the past couple of years, some of the best stuff you'll hear out of that company, of course. And again, he's come a long way in such a short amount of time. But I'm not seeing him as, heel almighty. It's not working for me. And no disrespect to him. I'm a fan of his work. I'm just saying. So if Roman wins the Royal Rumble, safe bet that fans will look at that and say, well, here we go again, right? Possibly. Who knows? I'm sure it's something that no one wants to see. But I don't know, man. It's a tough thing. Do I think that Roman should be the guy that wins the Rumble? Well, there's 2 matches I think we're fairly certain are going to happen. Nakamura versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. And Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. I think those are your 2 main event matches. I chuckle because if you think people don't want to see Roman Reigns win the Royal Rumble, people absolutely do not want to see Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. No. Brock Lesnar, the Beast. Brock Smash and all that stuff. I've written about this so many times over the past 4 years, whatever it's been now since he came back against Cena. I've written about this for a while now, and I've said so many times before that WWE has painted itself into a corner with Brock Lesnar, that his booking has been too monstrous. He's been portrayed as too unstoppable. At the end of the day, they made it appear as though Goldberg was lucky to have gotten past him, that Brock just wasn't ready. But when Brock was prepared, he crushed Goldberg. That to me is not how you run a personality. That's my opinion. Now you can look at me and say, Tom, they've made a lot of money with Goldberg, but they've made a lot of money with Brock, but they made a lot of money with a lot of guys and didn't book them that way. Hulk Hogan, who I've never been a fan of and never will be, no disrespect, just my own personal taste in pro wrestlers, I guess you could say, was never portrayed as unstoppable. The biggest, nastiest, ugliest heels of WWF at that time could find a weakness, whether it was, Andre ripping the cross off in his neck, or the $1 Million Man questioning his integrity by offering him $1 million for the championship, all this other stuff. It would poke holes into maybe not poke holes into his character, but question his character. It had fans looking at Hogan saying, I wonder if he'll do it. Do you know how many people actually believe that Hogan might sell the title? I mean, think about that. To me, that sort of marked one of the very noticeable changes that occurred to Hulk Hogan over the years. Maybe it was more for the crowd perspective than it was Hogan himself, but a lot of fans at that time were actually questioning whether or not Hulk Hogan was actually going to sell the WWF Championship to Ted DiBiase. It would never have been thought of in the past. But WWF did a good job, not a great job, a good job at that time of exposing Hogan in terms of, listen, he's the big, good-looking guy with the 24-inch pythons, the hair and the red and yellow, and he's Mr. Charisma, but he's a man, right? He's just a man. He's in better shape than you are. He's probably trained harder than you are. And maybe he went out and achieved his goals. But you know what? You can too, because he's just a man. And I think they did an excellent job at that. That's not Brock Lesnar. Compare and contrast Hulk Hogan to Brock Lesnar. There's a world of difference, man. A world of difference. Brock Lesnar is Jason Voorhees. Get that? Brock Lesnar is Jason Voorhees. He gets knocked down. He gets back up. Hits him with a truck. He gets back up. You know, cuts his head off. He opens his eyes. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? They knock him down. He gets back. Throw him in the river, in the lake. Gets back. He climbs out. Blah, I'm not dead. You know, that's Brock. It doesn't matter what you do to him. He gets back up. At some point, you have to stay down. I believe it's hurt WWE in the long run because you've built this guy up to be this unstoppable beast. They call him the Beast Incarnate, for crying out loud. But a lot of what goes along with that, and Brock can sell. And again, when I talk about this stuff, whether I'm writing about it or podcasting about it, you guys know me. Anyone in my audience knows this 110% about me. And this is no joke. Nothing's personal. I don't make anything personal. I try to look at this stuff objectively, and I try to give you my honest opinion from a guy who's watched this 40 plus years. Don't ask how old I am. It's embarrassing. But nothing's personal, okay, at all. Brock knows how to work. Brock knows how to sell. Brock can sell. Brock sells like a pro boxer who's been knocked silly. He gets that look in his eyes, that glazed look, like he's not sure if he knows where he's at right now. Like he's reaching for a rope that's not there. Like he's maybe listening for a referee's 10 count that's even may or may not be happening. Brock has that ability. Brock can draw you in to those types of matches. He can do it. I'm not saying he's not capable. He can. Plus, if I'm not careful, if I ever meet Brock, he might, suplex me to death. I don't want that. So I have to be careful what I say. You never know. Hey, I'll bump for Brock. Everyone does. Again, it's nothing personal. Calm down. But Brock is more than capable of putting on a very, very compelling match. He's done it many, many times in the past. But at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar's getting back up. I don't think there's any denying that. And when that's the case, again, you have painted yourself in a corner. You've essentially said, this guy's, he's the Jack. He's the one. He is, he's the guy on top, and he's Jason Voorhees, and you can't beat him. But if anyone ever does beat him, they're the next guy. See that? From the minute that Goldberg pinned him, Paul Heyman, commentators, a lot of people started saying, come on. It was a fluke. Right? First thing out of Paul Heyman's mouth, it was a fluke. We underestimated him. It won't happen again. Everyone needs to calm down. He's still the Beast Incarnate. That's how it was perceived. For the next guy that pins Brock, it's going to be Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34. Yes? They won't be saying it's a fluke. They won't be saying that Brock wasn't prepared. They're going to be saying that, Roman is now officially the top guy. He was before. He is now. but he's going to officially be the new top guy. Because after you pin Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 34 clean, after taking, I'm going to call it now. I'm going to say 3 F5s. I won't go crazy and say 4. I think that Roman will take in the vicinity of, I'll say 21 Germans. Let's go ahead and talk about odds and betting on events. Let's go ahead and call it for what it is. I say Roman takes 21 Germans and he kicks out of 3 F5s. There you go. And he will be your winner. Because after you pin Brock Lesnar clean, after taking that much punishment and abuse and pin him clean on the grand stage of the mall, there's no one left to beat. You're done. That's it. Roman may as well retire after that. Because then the onus will be on WWE to create new challengers or to take the guys that are already there and embellish their characters, build them up in such a way where you can look at those cats and say, hey, they are the ones that could beat Roman. Roman's unstoppable, man, but this guy could beat him. I mean, what else have you got? That's how they do business in that company. That's how they do business. Because they want a babyface as the top guy. They want the babyface as the top title holder. They want the babyface to be the face of the company. Because they believe that you really can't market your pro wrestling company, even though they want to call it sports entertainment. It's pro wrestling. I'm just saying. They believe that you can't market your sports entertainment / pro wrestling company / whatever they want to call it to the masses with a heel as the top face of the company. Why is that? Because there's only ever going to be one Ric Flair. There'll never be two. Rick could play either side and still be the face of the company. In my opinion, what I've always believed, well, I will continue to believe until I'm older and grayer than this, is that there is more drama and there's more compelling storylines revolving around a heel as your top champion. I think a heel has to be your top title holder because the drama's in the chase, right? The drama's in the chase. When you've got, X number of good baby faces, solid baby face performers chasing your top heel champion, there's some story there. There's some drama, right? There is a reason to tune in. Oh, God, he was this close to pinning him. I can't wait to see what happens next week. You don't have that when a baby face is your top title holder, when a baby face is the top guy in the company. You don't have that because no one's pulling for the heels. Not if they're playing this right. And let me just say something to you in all fairness right now. I'm a firm believer in going to pro wrestling events and having fun. I've seen WWE a lot over the years. I've seen a lot of Raw. I've seen a lot of SmackDown, okay? Live in living color. And that's the truth. I've never gone with the thought of, I'm going to hijack this show. We'll make this all about me. I brought my beach ball. I'm gonna boo the faces and cheer the heels. I've never sat front row in a WWE event, but if I did, I'd work every heel that came past me. You want to know why? Do you want to know why? Come close if you can't hear me, man. I'm about to spit some truth at you right now. If you work the heels in the front row, Monday Night Raw, guess who the camera's going to keep going back to? You know all these idiots that every time a guy gets knocked down right near where they're sitting, they have to lean down. Yeah, look here, yeah. And they're pointing at themselves and trying to take selfies and mugging for the camera. By the way, I hope you all die horrible deaths. I'm just kidding. I'm really not. That wouldn't be me. They're trying to get on camera. They see themselves on camera like, oh, hey, look at me. If you're working the heels, guess what happens when that guy's match is over, when he goes back through the curtain? Dude, get the guy in the front row in the Black Muhammad Ali t-shirt. He is so into this. That dude is fun. You think the boys don't notice that? You think that just because they work for WWE, they don't realize that they've forgotten where they came from? That the guys that came off the independent circuit that wrestled in front of 10 fans and half of them were family? You think they've forgotten? No, they haven't. They don't forget. They love that stuff. So word of the wise, okay? For anyone out there that gets front seats to Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live, work the heels. and cheer the baby faces. Get the high fives from the baby face. I don't care if you don't like them. I'm a smart fan. I can't do that. I'm so smart. I hate you so much. I've ranted on about the smart, quote unquote, smart fans on the show before. Not kidding. I won't get off on it now. It's once I get started, it's like a forest fire, man. It just keeps on burning. So we won't do that. But there's your two favorites to win the Royal Rumble match. Here's the problem with either match. They could pencil either match. They can do Shinsuke versus AJ for WWE Championship. They can do Lesnar versus Reigns for Universal Championship. And it's all good. You don't have to have either guy win the Royal Rumble. What happens if they don't win it? Daniel Bryan. You can't make this stuff up. Daniel Bryan is like the third guy in line favored to win the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan's last match was April 14th, 2016, I think. Like I said, I just wrote this column, man. It's not come out yet. Plus, I wrote it like 3 a.m, so I'm a little fuzzy right now. And it's been a while, right? But this thing with he and Shane McMahon, this really weird thing on SmackDown Live where they have heat, and it's like they're building toward a match, but like Daniel's not been released to work again in the WWE ring. He's not been medically cleared. What? Like, I sit back as a guy, again, who's watched this and analyzed it and written about it pretty much his entire life. And I'm like, why would you build a heat with Daniel Bryan, who you're not allowing to perform in the ring anymore? There's no payoff. You see? There's no payoff. There's no chance of, well, this thing between Daniel and Shane is going to come to a head at WrestleMania 34. There's only way it can come to a head at WrestleMania 34. They have to actually work a match. So where does that leave the Royal Rumble? Daniel is actually believed by many people to be a surprise entry into the Royal Rumble. Maybe even the 30th guy. And he wins the whole freaking thing. I love Daniel. I do. I've been a Daniel Bryan guy from the start. And I think that his rise in that company is not possibly, it is one of the three most organic events to naturally happen in that company. The first being Stone Cold Steve Austin, the second being CM Punk, the third being Daniel Bryan. I defy anyone to say I'm wrong or to prove me wrong, okay? Because organically happened. Daniel Bryan's rise wasn't choreographed for him. It wasn't written down on paper. It wasn't, devised and plotted by a table full of people who've never even watched pro wrestling before. This happened because the fans wanted him. CM Punk's pipe bomb may have been the spark that lit the fire for the hope of the new rebellion. How's the Star Wars line go? I'm a Star Wars guy. I can't help it, man. Always have been. Always will be. But CM Punk's pipe bomb, and he hates that word now, right? On Monday Night Raw, sparked his rise. So you could say that WWE opened the door for that to happen. But when you had Daniel Bryan in the ring that night, remember when John was trying to hype his match with Randy and they were all cheering Daniel Bryan? And Daniel's smiling like, hey, I'm over here in the corner. Okay, thanks for liking me. And like the people are like, dude, we love Bryan so much we can't freaking get enough of this little dude. I got chills. Can you see? Right now. Oh my God, it was so good. The night that Daniel turned on Bray Wyatt in the cage on Raw, shut up. Shut up. That was, I can't even put it into words. There's something else. There's the last part of your homework, man. Go YouTube that. The biggest moment in Daniel Bryan's career. And I know winning the championship, WrestleMania 30 was huge. The pinnacle of his achievements. But I believe the biggest night of his pro wrestling career, bar none, was the night that he turned on Bray in the cage on Raw. Because the reaction from the fans. That's why I'm a fan. That's why I've been a fan since I was 4, 3. Jesus, maybe even 2. At least 3, right? That's why I've been a fan since I was that age. That's why I'll be a fan for as long as I'm around. Because of moments like that pull you in. They suck you in, man. They make you forget that this stuff is all predetermined. They make you forget that these guys are boys behind the scenes. They make you forget that tomorrow there's another show and tonight's just about spiking a rating or building a storyline to get to the next big event. They make you forget all that and they suck you into the moment. And it's those moments. The WWE is the best in the world, best in the business has ever seen at creating those moments. They don't always do the best job of it, but they've been the best from a consistent standpoint over the span of, well, you would have to say that they like to pat themselves on the back and say that it's been happening since the 80s and before. I don't buy that. Because the territory system was alive and well, and nothing will ever beat Jim Crockett Promotions Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Classic. Saying. My opinion. Fact. Saying. But really, since WCW closed its doors, WWE has really, I think that they, at the upper echelons of that company, realize and understand they have a responsibility to create those moments. Not just for themselves, but for the industry as a whole. And I think that's extremely important. And I think they take it very seriously. I'm saying. And they're the best at that. Would I like to see Daniel Bryan come back because I'm a fan of the guy? You better believe it. However, and you knew there was a however. Is it a however coming? That's why you don't phrase the word like that. And I'm the writer, right? There was a but coming. But even though I like Bryan, I would love to see Bryan back in the fold. I'd love to see him back in the ring. My problem is I want Daniel to be healthy and live a nice, productive life. I want Bryan to not be sitting in a wheelchair one day. I want Bryan to physically be able to walk. To have coherent memories of all of this, of his time in WWE, his beginnings in Ring of Honor. I want him to remember all of that. And I want that for him because I like him a lot. And because I'm a fan. And because I have so much respect for what Daniel achieved in the past, for how he did rise up in WWE, how he took us all on a great ride, that we would love to go on with him again. So I don't know if it's the best idea for him to come back. Reports that I've read since his retirement said that there was a lesion found on his brain. You're going off the internet. I don't know Daniel's medical history up close. I'm not Daniel. I'm not his wife. So I don't know what his medical history is 110%. But if that's true, then dude, right? He should have stopped. He shouldn't come back. Because let me just tell you something about this business. And again, I go crazy for this business. I'm a massive fan of this business. I love this business. It's why I got in it. It's why I keep writing about it. It's as much a part of me as my family. That's the truth. And that's how it will always be. But it's pro wrestling. Okay? Keep this in perspective. If WWE closed its doors today, I'd be upset. If all of pro wrestling left tomorrow, I'd feel like half of a person. But I got my memories. I got a shelf full of DVDs. I got the WWE Network if it'd still be around, right? I got YouTube. I've got friends that I went to matches with. I got friends that I was in the business with. And I've got all that stuff. I've got my writing. I could write about it till I'm dead and never watch it again. Right? But it's just pro wrestling. Pro wrestling's not life, as much as you like to think it is, as much as it feels like it is for me sometimes. Real life is much more important. And if Daniel Bryan's health is on the line, he has no business coming back. Period. That's it. He shouldn't do it. Don't want him to. If it means that he's going to be in trouble, Bryan needs to stay out of the ring. That's it. in any capacity. I don't care what it is. He's risking his life, as they all are. But he's already behind the 8 ball, and no one wants to see anything bad happen to him. That's how I feel. Don't do it. So, this wasn't going to be a Royal Rumble preview show, but I thought we were going to talk about it anyway. Let's talk real quick about the Women's Royal Rumble. That's coming up. If you believe anything that the Vegas guys are saying, the betting guys online, the guys that dish out the odds, Ronda Rousey is favored to win. Now, okay, so before we all lose it and go crazy over this little tidbit, this little rumor nugget, as I like to call it, let's remember this. Ronda is supposedly training with the Brian Kendrick, or maybe she's not. Triple H has already had the conversation with her, and she's in, or he's not talked to her at all and doesn't know anything about it. She's anxious to get started in the ring, or maybe she hasn't called anyone. Lest you forget, as I said before, WWE can call itself wrestling entertainment, sports entertainment, all they want to. It's pro wrestling. Pro wrestling promotions keep their mouth shut when it comes to big stories because they want to surprise you. They don't want to ruin the surprise. They want it to be a moment. They want to make you tune in to see if someone's actually going to be there, if someone's actually going to, wear a certain type of gear or do a certain gimmick or say a certain line or show up that hasn't been there in 5 years or whatever the case may be. They want you to tune in because they want your ratings and they want your money. There you go. Can't fault them for that. They're a business. They're in the business to make money. That's it. They're not in the business to make memories. This is not a company that's in the business to make memories and make you feel good. If making you feel good means they get more of your money, then they love making you feel good. They're in the business to make money. Don't fool yourselves. Much as I love pro wrestling, WWE is in the business to making money. That's all they're there for, period. Okay? Keep it real. So, Ronda Rousey, I have very mixed feelings. I've written about Ronda a lot in the past couple of years, and, do I think that she should come in and win the whole freaking thing? Well, I'm split on this. Ronda would bring a lot more eyes to the product. She'd bring ESPN, even though ESPN's already there. She'd bring Fox Sports, even though Fox Sports is already there. She'd bring the nationwide audience who's kind of already there watching. I don't know that she could do anything great for the company. However, in turn, I believe the company could do something great for her. And I've written this piece for Bleacher Report recently as well. She needs WWE more than WWE needs her at this point. That's how I feel. And if you need proof of that, where is she right now? I mean, unless you're a Ronda Rousey fan, do you even know where she is, what she's up to, what she's been up to, what she's doing right now? I don't have any idea. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there to you. But the minute she sets foot in a WWE ring, she's going to be the talk of the planet once again. Okay? And so I think she needs pro wrestling. I think she needs that company. She needs the business like she's never needed it or maybe wanted it before. That's how I feel. So with that in mind, with that being the case, is it a good idea to put her over in her first night in the company? I got to be honest with you, man. I don't know if I'm down with that. The Women's Revolution was supposed to be Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha, and Becky. The 4 horsewomen. I mean, Ronda can call her and her UFC girls the 4 horsewomen all she wants to, but you know what? Ric Flair is Charlotte's dad, okay? Shut up. Just stop. All right? That's an offense to me. As the guy that's the pro wrestling fan, not the UFC fan, I'd take offense to that. Maybe that's goofy. I don't care. I don't really care. It's how I feel. All right? But I think that's an offense, and I think it's nonsense, and I don't want to hear anything more about it. Right? So, yeah, I kind of have a problem with it. Do I think WWE would do it? Absolutely. Because they want Rousey versus Charlotte at WrestleMania 34. Can you name another match for the women's division right now that would be bigger? Can't do Sasha and Charlotte. They've killed it. And all great rivalries, if the rivalry is truly great and not just a feel-good rivalry of the moment that turns some heads and got a few people watching, but a rivalry in terms of they can always go back to it and it will always make money. I mean, that would have been for me CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. That was Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. That was the Rock and Rolls versus the Midnights. That was, Magnum versus Tully. That's what that was, is that this amazing feud, a blood feud sometimes, and they could run it for like 6 months to a year. Then they could stop and say, okay, I got to pull back a little bit. I don't pull back some, and we can always go back to it. And to me, that's what Charlotte and Sasha are. It's not time to go back to it. Something big would have to happen for them to go back to it now and then have the turnaround and sell it to you at WrestleMania 34. I just don't think it's going to happen. So the next biggest match would have to be, if it's not Charlotte versus Rousey, it would be Charlotte versus Trish. I don't know if there's been any talks on Trish's side with WWE about ever making any kind of a comeback for any reason whatsoever. But I think it could have been Mickey at one time because she had enough history there. She was enough of a legend that she could have done it. It's too late for that now, I believe, right? But Charlotte versus Ronda that's the feud. That's the match that people want to see. That's what the company wants at WrestleMania 34. Don't fool yourselves. There's nothing bigger right now. That's it. That's what they want. So in order to make that happen, Ronda's probably going to step into WrestleMania 30 and win it for the first ever 30-woman over the top Royal Rumble Battle Royal. It's still a Battle Royale. Battle Royale is how I like to refer to it. But if that doesn't happen, and again, I'm not real big on it, I got to be honest. If it doesn't happen, Asuka, no one can. What is it she says? No one's ready for Asuka. No one is ready for Asuka. You better believe that. She's a beast. Dude, she's a stone cold killer. And she hits hard. Let me just tell you something right now. Asuka hits hard. If you have ever been in the ring, if you watch this stuff for more than just, oh, that was a nice drop kick. Did you see that? Look how graceful that was. You know when a hit's a hit. Okay? AJ worked the other night on SmackDown. When he worked Kevin and then he worked Sammy, he belted Sammy. I mean, it was and he didn't stiff them. He didn't stiff them because of anything that happened in the match that I'm aware of. I didn't see anything that was, a slip or anything. He stiffed him because that's how AJ works, right? Asuka, the other night when I saw her, when was it? I think it was in the mixed tag match. She hits Carmella, and dude, it was hard. Dude, that chick hits hard, man. And I love that stuff, right? You have to have, and I'm not saying have a guy who is stiff and dangerous. No one needs that, especially in 2018. William Regal used to say that I know how to hit you very hard in safe places. And that's what Asuka does. That's what AJ does. Asuka is a beast. She is the hype. We're talking about Brock Lesnar earlier and how I think they painted themselves into a corner and actually hurt themselves because of Brock. I don't believe that with Asuka. I think Asuka will keep this undefeated streak going for another 6 months. It's crazy. I don't think it's going to happen. But I think they could, and they could keep it going for a good long time past this. But all good things must come to an end. So Asuka is the favorite by many to win the women's, I keep wanting to say women's, like there's one woman in there. It's just going to be Asuka trying to throw herself over the top rope. It's lame. But in the women's Royal Rumble match on January 28th, Asuka is the projected winner. But a lot of people still believe Ronda is going to pull it off. The third in the running for this, and by the way, I'll put a link in the Facebook Live description if it lets me to the not only to this podcast but to the column. The column posts today at 3:00. By the way, today again, meaning January 26th. But the third female superstar that's been mentioned is Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is the blue collar female superstar of WWE. Becky Lynch is the Dolph Ziggler, except without the bad attitude. Because Becky is depended upon to deliver a 5-star match every time she's in there. And she delivers a 5-star match every time she's in there. She is just that good. And she's solid, and she's smart, and she's got great ring awareness. What Steph Curry is on the court, in my opinion, Becky Lynch is in the ring in terms of, She doesn't have to see. She knows where the rope is. She knows where her leg is. You see what I'm saying? She's very aware of her surroundings. She knows, it's instinct at this point, of what to do next. There's one girl that would never have to be coached. Talk about compare and contrast. Put her next to Dana Brooke and tell me what the compare and contrast is. Oh my God, Dana Brooke, go home. No disrespect. I'm just saying, that thing where she comes out and flexes, I've had enough. This thing with Titus Worldwide is not going to get over because it's a catchphrase. There's nothing else to it. Apollo Crews had massive potential. It's gone. It's over. He'll have to turn heel on Titus in order to get back to any sort of semblance of a successful upper card run. It's not going to happen. I got a lot of love for him too. It's not going to happen. But compare and contrast Dana Brooke next to Becky Lynch side by side. There's no comparison, dude. Becky Lynch is the real deal. 100% the real deal. She is, bar none, I believe, the best female wrestler in that company. And I like Asuka. Asuka's a great hand. She's a great attraction. I think if built the right way and if hyped the right way with the right storyline backing it up, Asuka versus Becky Lynch could main event a pay-per-view. Becky doesn't have the flash that Charlotte has. It would kind of be like taking Ricky Morton. It'd be like taking Ricky Morton and main eventing the pay-per-view against Dusty Rhodes. Do you see where I'm going with that? I mean, it would have to be Ric Flair and Ricky Morton. Does that make sense? Dusty might have been a bad analogy there, but you get what I'm saying. I think the company would look at it and say, hey, Asuka versus Charlotte, that's your match. I still say, if prepared the right way and if given the room to work and the ability to do what they can do, what they know they can do between the ropes, it would be Asuka and Becky Lynch. 100%. I have no doubt in my mind. She's just that good. So, Royal Rumble is going to happen. Those are your two big actual Royal Rumble matches. There's 4 other matches on the card. Both sets of tag team championships are on the line. The Universal title's on the line. WWE title's on the line. You can go look all that stuff up. I usually try to keep my shows around an hour, and I'm going a little overboard right now. I still got to do the intro, by the way. But before we take it home, okay, let's talk about the reintroduction of the XFL. I just did a dumb thumbs up on camera. Because Vince comes out with this press conference. We all know the story. He sold 100 million shares of WWE to fund this new Alpha Entertainment. To Vince's credit, he's trying to keep it separate from WWE this time. If you just heard that jingling, it's my pet's collar. I'm not going to edit that stuff out because it's on Facebook Live too. See, so like I said before, if it's live, it's not a mistake. There's no accidents on live. We meant to do that. I meant to have the sound of that collar in the background. How you like that? But to Vince's credit, he claims he's going to keep it separate this time. He said that before. Does anyone remember that? Seems like everyone's forgotten. Guess who didn't forget? Your boy didn't forget. Because if you will look back at Tom Clark's main event in February of last year, you will find the show in which I interviewed Charlie Ebersol. Charlie Ebersol is the son of Dick Ebersol, who was a longtime NBC sports guy, producer, and worked with Vince on WWE presentations on Saturday Night's Main Event, on pay-per-views, WrestleManias, and also developed the XFL with Vince McMahon. And it began in 2001. And what did it do? Promised the return of old school style football with a modern twist, kind of like what he said in this recent press conference. I'm not trying to crap on the guy. I'm just telling you, it kind of sounds a lot like what he said before. He said he was going to stay out of it. And what happened on the day of the kickoff, the first game of the XFL, he's on the field saying, "This is the XFL." Right? So we'll see what happens. You can't blame Vince McMahon for wanting to get back into it if he's got the funds. XFL, right? You can't blame Vince McMahon because he's a massive football fan. He's only getting older. If he really wants to make a go of this, maybe the best time is 2018. He's got the money to do it. Supposedly they're going to do this thing. They're going to work on this thing for 2 years, and XFL will not take the field to the year 2020. So we'll see what happens. The interesting part for me, and I should have jumped on this, and I feel like I did, because I wrote a column on Bleacher Report not long after I did the interview on the podcast and published the podcast in February 2017 about the interview itself. And it wrapped up with my question to Charlie Ebersol, whether or not Vince would ever consider going back into this, because there's a scene at the end of the XFL documentary, the 30 for 30, called This Was the XFL, which is where the interview came from to begin with, by the way. You guys should know this. You studied for the show, right? So there's a dinner scene at the very end where they're at the table, and it is Vince McMahon and Dick Ebersol having dinner. And Vince says, I forget who asked him, I think Dick says, do you ever think about doing it again? And Vince says, every day, all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, that gave me cold chills when I watched it, because I'm like, you've got to be kidding me right now, man. But the conversation was apparently off the cuff. It was not scripted in any way. At that time, when I interviewed him and asked him the question, could this happen again? Charlie says that he interviewed Jerry Jones the morning after WrestleMania, when WrestleMania was in Texas. And he sat with Jerry during WrestleMania. Jerry's a big fan. And Jerry made the comment then that they desperately needed a developmental league in the NFL. Kind of like NXT is a developmental company, developmental brand for WWE. Or that's what it started out as anyway. I wrapped up the column, which, by the way, you can check it out. It happened on February 2nd. Just go into Google and Google Tom Clark and This Was the XFL, and you'll find the column. Or just XFL, and it'll probably come up, I'm sure. By the way, your boy's on page 2 of Google now. I don't know if I get a balloon or something for that. I was hoping for like a Google, like a membership card or something. I'm watching the mailbox patiently. Maybe my day will come. Who knows? But the last paragraph of the column is this: whether McMahon will try his hand at pro football again is unknown. WWE demands a lot of time and attention, both of which McMahon has devoted to his company for years. But if he learned from past mistakes and hired the right personnel to oversee operations, perhaps XFL could be reborn. Well, guess what, fool? What did he say in this second press conference, man? The latest one. That he was going to hire football people to take care of this. Holler at your boy. Again, I could have pursued this 12 months ago and done something more with it, but like an idiot, I chose not to. I just moved on. It's like, here's the funny thing, and this is no disrespect to men and women who are in the ring every night, risking their lives, and I mean that in all seriousness. I often compare what we do on this side of the business to that side of the business, what they do in the ring, because for me, going from one comm to the next is going from one town to the next. That's what I do. Like, I spend some time in this town. I do my thing. I give my best effort. I give you the best I have to offer to try to entertain you and try to inform you and try to give you something to think about, maybe to talk about with a friend or colleague at work the next day or whatever the case may be. And then when I'm done, I move to the next town and try to do it again. And I try to give you the best effort I have every single time. And that's what the men and women of WWE and all the other pro wrestling companies are trying to do as we speak. Is every time they hit a town, they try to give you the best that they have. That's all I'm doing. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is once I do my thing in one town, I'm gone to the next one, which kind of makes me sound trashy now that I think of it. I'm like the old Bob Seger song, A Rambling, Gambling Man. It's awesome. I actually really love that song. For any of you who have been keeping up with my foray into the world of bass playing, you hear the collar, you can't, I'm not taking it out. Sorry, it's part of the soundtrack to the show. It is what it is. I'm still playing bass. I still dig it. If you follow me on Facebook, you will see random comments, random Facebook posts by yours truly in terms of how far I've come. No, I'm not playing bass on camera. Sorry. Not going to happen. I record myself playing so I can see what maybe I messed up on or my form, I guess you could say. Or maybe it's just to feed my own insatiable ego. Maybe that's what it is. But you're not going to see it. I got much respect for you guys that can post videos of yourself playing and stuff, but I'm not. It's not going to happen, no matter how good I might get. So, since we're talking about social media, let's wrap this thing up. Anything you need to know or want to ever know about Boink Studios, which is my production company along with Kyle Smith. We've got 3 podcasts, the one that you're listening to or watching. Hi, right now. And we've also got Tom Clark's 30-Minute Fun Show, which is done with me and my son Wesley, who we have a major blast doing. There's also Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, which we haven't done in almost a year because we suck. I got to be honest with you, man. technology being what it is, we have to get back in the groove of it. We've had some technical difficulties on both sides of the mic, so we'll get back on that as soon as possible. But everything you need to know about Boink Studios, you can find at one location, baby. BoinkStudios.com. That's it. It's one click, man. You can find links to all 3 podcasts. You can find links to my work on Bleacher Report as well as the Camel Clutch blog. Everything in between. You can find links to the Facebook page, to the Twitter feed. You got it, man. We got it for you. Listen, man, thanks for watching. For everybody who watched this, I don't know when I'm going to do this again. If I'm going to do it again, I'm going to watch it back and see what kind of a doofus I might look like. Hopefully I don't. Who knows? Maybe the pop vinyl saved it. I don't have any idea. And for the rest of you who listen to the show, please do again, because I'm going to come back just as soon as I can. I don't know what more to say to you. It's kind of awkward. It's not really awkward. But no, man, like I said, man, this has been just a way for me to, get on here and to kind of do my thing and try something different and sort of get in there. And I see other cats on Facebook and they record their podcasts live on camera, and kudos to them, right? So, like I said, I might try this again. We'll see how it goes. Hope you guys got something out of it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This has been episode number 85. And as always, we appreciate your business. We will see you next time on Tom Clark's Main Event.